There we go. All right. Good morning, everyone. We're so happy that you're all back. We have new faces in the room and at the library and new faces on our screens. Welcome, all of you. Michelle and I were over the top excited last week at the results of our class, the reading, the comments. Once again, I want to point out that we are not necessarily our teachers. We are simply both women who've kind of devoted our lives to writing and reading. And that, so altogether, we are writers working and teaching each other. And so we're just kind of the consultants and we're just kind of leading it and we're the ringleaders of sorts, right? Right. Is Lauren ready to go? Because what I want to say is what Lauren typically says is, as you may have noticed last week, and we were a little bit freewheeling because it's so exciting. It's hard to know when to talk and when not to talk. We're going to ask the people in the room. I'd like to have them sit in one of our chairs when they read so that there's no worries about someone having trouble. Good.
Excuse me, this is Froggy. We're getting a lot of echo background noise. So if you're not speaking, can everybody mute out so that maybe that'll stop? Because it
looks to me, Froggy, like everyone is muted. I don't think I'm muted. Yeah. Okay, are you muted now? No, there you are. Froggy, is that any better? Oh, she's muted.
Yes.
Is that better? Good. Please feel free to do that again, because we want, more importantly than anything, we want everyone to be able to hear. So as Lauren likes to say, and we will give her an opportunity to say it when she's here. Lauren, you're signed in. Would you like to speak now?
Sure, I can, or I might have missed it, but if we wanted to maybe do introductions first and then speak, I think that would be a good idea.
Excellent. That's probably true of all of us. So I am Michele DeLuca.
I'm Michelle Kretz.
I'm a journalist, a filmmaker, and mostly I've been a writer my whole life, probably just like all of you.
I'm a librarian here at the Lewiston Library, and I love, my life has been reading and writing too. So
Michelle has how many books now? 8?
Oh, I guess.
Historical books that are just a beautiful way to learn about the history of the region. And I've always been very impressed by her work. So Lauren has some things to say. We'll note that before we speak, it's good to say who's speaking. So this is Michele DeLuca, and I'm speaking right now, for instance. It's also good to say, thanks, I'm done talking, or over and out. You know the drill, because we do want to be careful to let everyone have the opportunity to speak. So what we're going to do is I'm going to speak briefly today about intuitive writing. And then we're going to have our readings from people who haven't didn't have a chance to read last week. And then we'll proceed to people who have read last week, but would like to read a little something again today. Keep in mind that, nope, don't keep that in mind. I was just going to say longer pieces, but honestly, read what you think people can help you with, and we'll just go with that. Kelly, do you have anything you'd like to say? Lauren, do you have anything you'd like to say? Would you like to do your lead in?
Yes, this is a great time. Hi, everyone. It's Lauren Petroselli. So this has been a phenomenal beginning to this class of series, and something that I've been thinking about that I wanted to share with the group is related to memoir. So I know over the past couple weeks, many of you have shared some phenomenal writing with us about personal experiences that you've had throughout your life. And I think those personal experiences are what makes memoirs so interesting to both read and to write. And also, often the process of both reading someone else's memoir and writing your own memoir can change how we think about our own personal memories. So I wanted to share a couple things about that with the group. It's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just something that happens because of how our memory works. You know, anytime we recall a memory and start to examine it, it changes how that memory works for us because we're looking at it from not only the perspective we had when the situation that formed the memory happened, but also through the lens of who we are now as a person. And, you know, over our lives, all of us evolve dramatically in many ways from when we're a child to when we're an adult. But with those evolutions, many things, you know, that are our core stay the same. So that being said, as we're thinking about personal memories that we're writing about in memoir, there's a couple hopefully helpful things that I've been thinking about that I would like you to keep in mind. The first thing is that this experience of having memories kind of revisited through memoir can be really exciting and an amazing experience. However, if you feel like after class or after you're done with your writing, you're having trouble disconnecting from that memory, which is totally normal. Just like if you're working on something that's not personal, you might find it's hard to disconnect from that piece of writing or that piece of art that you're working on. So that's normal. What I invite everybody to do, if you find that this is something that's happening with you, either after class, after you're writing, or both, I really invite everyone to think about activities that help you feel engaged around something else. So a lot of the activities that can help us are ones that involve you know, moving our bodies sometimes or getting outside. It's nice that it's summer. So something as simple as if you have a porch, you know, stepping outside on your porch and taking in whatever's out there can be a helpful way to shift gears. That being said, too, you might not want to shift gears, so that's absolutely fine also. But I do want to give people some tools, just if you find that sometimes the memories you're thinking about tend to be kind of crowding out present day stuff. So last thing that I want to say before I turn it over to Michele and Michele for class is that, you know, as we're sharing personal stories, I do understand sometimes too emotions bubble up. So the last thing that I wanted to say is I really appreciate how empathic and caring everybody in our group is. And, you know, those things are natural and they happen. And just like I just talked about, sometimes things stick with us. Also, it's normal to feel kind of like transient emotional experiences as we're thinking about other people's stories and our own, because I do realize that sometimes there's a piece of someone's story that may really affect us that the person who wrote it may not have intended. And in closing, that's actually the thing that I appreciate the most about literature. I find that, you know, in reading other people's stories, I feel the strong connection to people I don't even know. And it helps me also think about things that have happened and are happening in my own life. And, you know, personally, I view that as an avenue for growth. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Michele and Michele to start our class. Check.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Lauren.
You're welcome.
Today, I'm going to be more of a student because Michele will be teaching about something I really don't know much about, and I'm excited to learn too, the intuitive writing. So do we want to introduce or have everyone?
Go ahead, greet. I don't know. We haven't done that yet, but we have Helen in the room and we have Susan, we have Linda, Joanna, Liz, and Kelly, and you and I. Do you, when you say greet, do you want people to get some airtime here, or? And then of course we have a beautiful crowd that everyone can see.
11 people joining us right now.
That's wonderful. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we just proceed and let whoever wants to speak, because sometimes people don't really feel a need to say good morning yet. And so we're going to watch, Kelly's going to watch the chat very carefully. And if you guys in the room have something you'd like to say, just raise your hands and we will respond, of course. And is there more you want to say about this week, or?
Oh yeah, I just want to apologize about the email hoopla this week. It's 100% my ignorance. I've been a librarian 21 years here, and I've never used a blind CC. I know I had some people that were upset about their emails being exposed, but I apologize. I meant no malice by it. And from now on, Kelly will take care of the emails.
Yes. So what we're going to ask you to do from now on is send any writing you want us to have a look at to Kelly, and Kelly will forward it to us as appropriate. If you prefer one of us over the other, tell Kelly.
They all go to Insights. They have the link in all of their, follow the link.
Say that one more time, because even I
Insights
don't know
Book
what that
Club?
means. Insights book. So if you follow the link, so I don't understand. What if someone doesn't want to share? What was the,
It's just an email address. Send your information to Insights Book Club.
send your information to Insights Book Club, which I believe is in the email you just sent us all. Excellent. Thank you. And I hope that will take care of that. The last thing we want to do is upset anyone. Our intent is for this to be joyful. And having said that, I'm going to begin, because this to me and to Michelle is joyful. And I hope it is to all of you as well. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to pay far more attention to my writing as an intuitive than as I let me explain okay, let's start from the beginning. I have been, probably like many of you, a writer since I could first pick up a pencil. I remember being 9 years old and reading a book, something, it might have been Harriet the Spy, I don't remember, but it occurred to me to begin walking about the neighborhood and journaling everything I saw. And by the time I was 12, I had my own little newspaper that I was sharing with my friends. And then I went on to newspapers in middle school and high school and college. And then I decided I was going to be a gymnast. Don't ask me why. And I went to school for 1 year as a gymnast at Canisius, and it wasn't working out well at all for me. And then my uncle said, yeah, I know somebody at the Courier Express who leads the advertising department. Maybe I get you a job as a copy kid. And I, in my whole life, I'd never thought I could actually be the kind of person who would get paid professionally to do this work. So I said, of course, sure. And I got a job, thanks to my uncle, from his neighbor, which is how life seems to often work out for all of us, as a copy kid, copy boy, actually. This was the days, and it was about, I'm going to say 1974. Let me describe for you a little bit about the Courier Express newsroom. It was on the fourth floor of what is now the Catholic building in downtown Buffalo on Main and Tupper. And it was the most beautiful building. And the fourth floor was the size of what felt like 2 football fields. The entire room was filled with smoke, because you had to smoke if you wanted to breathe in the newsroom. You literally could, and the copy kids, our jobs, there were about 10 of us. And we would work from starting at 2 o'clock, because it was a morning paper. So we would all work all night. And it became a very close family. And the copy kids would move about the room, taking copy off the spikes, news stories. They would spike it and they'd yell, copy, and we'd run over and pick up this little story on really cheap copy paper and bring it to the next table, where it would be either read by the city editor or read by a table full of copy editors who would check it for facts and grammar. And they'd be smoking cigars or cigarettes, and there'd be coffee. And our job was to keep the ashtrays clean. So we would take the ashtrays and pour them into the garbage can full of copy paper. And why the place didn't burn down, I have no idea. So the other jobs were taking type off the linotype machines in the wire room and deliver it to the appropriate editors. It was a blast. And take the first editions off in the basement. The big presses would be rolling the newspapers, and our job was to gather the first editions, spread them about the room. I'm just giving you a little history so that you can hear about, that was one of my happy places. And so I finally got to be a reporter. I went to Buff State. I changed from Canisius to Buff State, became a reporter. And one of my first jobs, I was sent to cover this psychic who was at the Institute for the Blind on Main Street. And she was teaching classes. She was teaching her students how to feel the energy of colors with their hands. And she was also teaching them how to do some travel in their imaginations, where they might travel to a friend's home before they arrive to get a comfortable sense of it, to kind of see with their intuition what they might be facing. It's crazy stuff. The military also uses these.
Remote viewing.
Pardon me? Remote viewing, yes.
Remote viewing. I didn't realize I was not on mute. I apologize. Remote
That's
viewing.
okay. That's okay. I love that. It was shocking to me as well. And I was watching the faces of these students in this class, where they would realize that everything has energy. We all know that. And they would realize that if they were relaxed and contemplative, they could feel a red, or they could feel a blue. And apparently they could even feel a polka dot, because it's all intuitive. Or so this woman said. And I'm just a young reporter going, Holy Toledo, Ohio. I had never seen anything quite like this. So I went back to the newsroom and I was all excited. And I said, this is so great. Wait till you hear about this story. And a reporter, a very seasoned veteran woman who I so admire, walked by and said, that woman ought to be in jail. And apparently, as a young cub reporter, I had been caught believing silliness and I was embarrassed, and it really impacted the way I wrote the story. And that was that for me. But the reason I'm telling you all this is because years later, after the newspaper closed, I looked up that psychic because I was just fascinated by her ability to teach people things that they didn't think they knew. And I ended up spending some series of classes with her, and I wrote a little book about it, which is free on the internet. I'm not making any money but what it taught me was that we all have gifts that we don't use because we're never told we either have them or we don't believe we have them. I don't know why we don't use them, but we're all very intuitive. Writers especially, I think, might know this more than others. Sometimes when I have these talks, people think I'm a little wacky. But I think writers often understand what I'm saying a little more than most. And so I wrote this whole book about my experiences in the class because, again, forgive me, but it's true. I would hold someone's keys in my hand and I could, after a brief meditation, we would all relax because you can't tap your intuition if you're wound up or overexcited. So when you relax, you can know things that you might not otherwise know. And I hope this is not foreign to all of you, because if it is, it's maybe time to explore this. And that's what I'm hoping you'll do as writers. So as I said, I wrote a little book about this. And since then, I have never held anybody's keys in my hands and tried to guess who owned them. I have never held an envelope and tried to determine whether it was salt or pepper or basil, because those are the exercises she was leading us through. Holding a picture without looking at it and seeing who's in it. And all of us, the race car driver, the truck driver, the businesswoman, whoever was in this class of like 30 people, we could all do something. Again, through the rest of my life, I've never held the keys, tried to do any of this. What it did help me to understand is I can trust my intuition, that I am a little more powerful than I thought I was as a human. I became what I like to call a human potentialist, and I love to explore our abilities to do more than we think we can. Having said that, one of the things that I learned in that series of classes was that meditation or even relaxation is vital to our ability to imagine, to write, to do our best work. And so at one point, when I was between jobs, the newspaper had closed and I was looking for something to occupy the rest of my life. I saw a little ad in the newspaper and the penny saver, it said, we're looking for documentary filmmakers. And so I applied. It was a New York State grant thing, and Lockport Community Television would teach people how to make documentaries. And I was working an idea for a magazine story called Yankee Meditation, because I was fascinated. Book after book after book was telling me that if we meditate, we not only become healthier, we can healthier mentally, physically, and well, maybe not physically, but certainly healthier mentally. We know ourselves better. We can tap into the beautiful wisdom that we sometimes suppress by not paying attention. And so one of the books that influenced me was a book by a Harvard professor, Herbert Benson. And it's called, Herbert Benson. It's called A Relaxation Response. And it's just details of the studies that prove that we are better if we take some time to sit quietly. And there's a variety of ways to do it. One is to watch the thoughts as they float through your mind. One is to just try to listen to your own breathing. Everybody has a way. My best meditation is walking my son's 2 dogs, and or walking the dogs that I've had in the past. I always think better if I'm engaged in an activity that doesn't require much except, the patting of feet, one in front of the other. Some people meditate when they drive. I get some really good ideas, and that I'm embarrassed to say that, but I do. I mean, I hopefully some of you walking in any event. So I ended up doing a documentary about those thoughts, thanks to this grant, and that is available on my YouTube website, Yankee Meditation. If you Google Michele DeLuca and Yankee Meditation, you should be able to watch that. And there's a number of people that speak in this video. It's silly, and listening to it, you don't have to watch it. You can listen to it because experts talk about what meditation can do for us. And one of those experts was a journalism professor who made all of his students meditate because he believed it enhanced their writing as journalists. And I certainly know it enhances my writing as a fiction writer, as a memoir writer. It just helps me to tap into my own inner wisdom. So what I'm going to recommend, I was going to lead us all through meditation, but I would really much rather jump ahead to the reading. So I do have a sheet that lists some of my ideas, that puts you in touch with the book that I wrote from my experiences with with all these average Americans in this class led by this psychic, is called Gifts Yet to Open. And that is free on Amazon if you wanted to read it. And it's literally how someone like me, as a girl reporter who needs her feet planted firmly on the ground, can also benefit by tapping into the inner wisdom that we all have. I think that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I would love to hear questions or comments, and from anybody in the room, out of the room, on the Zoom.
I too have taken classes with Carolyn Yarrows. Is that who you're talking
Yes.
about? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, just join up where we're on this side.
Yes, will it help if I turn it to Joanna? There you are. Can you see yourself?
No.
Okay, well, at least they can hear you,
Okay.
so.
I too have taken classes from Carolyn Yarrows, who Michelle is talking about. And I was as surprised as it sounds like you were, that some of the things that I can do. So that's all. I just wanted to.
Thank you, you're affirming that. It is stunning when somebody gives you the opportunity. It's a very rare opportunity when someone says, okay, now we're going to pass envelopes around, see if you can guess what's in them.
Yeah.
I could not do that. We all had specific areas where we were stronger. I was really bad. And Kelly?
We have a question from our online forum from Caitlin. Do you meditate before each writing session?
No, but I would be a much better writer if I did. I find I've been chasing meditation my whole adult life. Since I read Herbert Benson's book, I have been, and I'm one of those people that goes like, which is never a good way to meditate. It's sometimes good to lay down and just listen to your breathing. You can watch a candle, and you can never, ever meditate again, but I highly recommend you give it a try. I have a sheet that I wrote some of my thoughts on this, including some, if you Google intuitive writing meditations, there's several that pop up and you can try those. I actually find sometimes I enjoy listening to someone else's voice in my head, but my voice is pretty active, and I'm really seeking quiet. I'm seeking to kind of allow my brain to rest, because I'm guessing that I, like many of you, have this kind of monkey brain going there. No, well, you better get up because you got grocery shopping. You're going to forget about the appointment you have tomorrow. And so if you could just quiet that, I've had some of my best ideas when I'm able to do it, but it isn't easy. I'm just saying that if you have a penchant towards it, I highly recommend it.
I just want to say.
This is Froggy.
Oh,
What
go ahead.
What if at the end of class, if anybody wants to stay and do a meditation, you do it then?
You know what? I would be happy to do that, even a 5-minute meditation. So I could kind of give you an example of how it feels to just breathe and listen to your breathing. That I find the easiest, because if I concentrate on my heart and my breathing, I've left my brain. And frankly, sometimes I really need to leave my brain. And I understand from many heart researchers, there's a nonprofit called the Heart Math Institute, which examines our ability to open our heart and our attention to our heart and how that benefits us as well. Opening your heart, kind of just breathing, all very, very good for tapping into our intuition. And it does remind me that the one last thing I want to say, and this is what we might have some fun with, Froggy, is when we do the meditation for 5 minutes, just breathing, to kind of ask a question that you'd like an answer to. And sometimes the answers come. And sometimes the answer is there is no answer. So some people in my video, Yankee Meditation, we did also interview a Catholic priest who was a Vietnam priest. He was an activist, and he over at Stella Niagara would have meditation classes, Christian meditation, I think they called it, or some version of that. And so they would literally do the same, only it would have a spiritual component, and they believed they were tapping into God. I believe that all of us can tap into God if we wish, but if we just wish to tap into our own inner wisdom, we can also access that more easily through meditation. Kelly.
We have a couple more statements. Number one, the question, so what is intuitive writing? And number two, a statement from Mike Stacy says he's been doing meditation for a couple of years. And he thinks you better stick to it. Over time, you get good benefits.
Yes, I agree. Because I have stuck to it. I find it frustrating. Let me address the
What is
intuitive writing first, and then we're going to take a question from Susan in the room. Susan, right? I knew that. Intuitive writing. Okay, so I just read a whole book on intuitive writing because I really wanted to refresh myself. And honestly, I think that intuitive writing is a little different for all of us. And let me just explain to you what it is for me, and what I suggest you try. And let me speak to you as writers, because what I believe more importantly than anything is we all have this voice in our head, especially when we start writing, because we all do. That's where our words come from. So it's sometimes hard to become aware of, when you're intuitive writing, what the difference is between that voice in your head, except that I find my own intuitive writing is wiser. So some days I will just write at the top of the page, writing what I hear, or WWIH and the date. And then I'll just allow the words to come into my head. And it's an interesting way. What I have now is journals where I've journaled my thoughts. And then I'll do when I read back the writing, what I hear in response to a question that I've asked, it's very wise. And I go like, wow. So much so that, that I'm impressed by my own self. I refer to as inner wisdom. And I also sometimes wonder if I'm not getting a little guidance from whoever it is out there that's assigned to look after me. Depending on what your religious belief is, you may go with that. But I'm also certain there's an inner wisdom within each of us, because I've also tapped into that. And if you have no religion or no spiritual beliefs, I think you will all know that we are wiser sometimes than we give ourselves credit for, particularly when we are relaxed and peaceful. So intuitive writing is writing what you hear in your head, best done after meditation. The book I just read about intuitive writing helped me not at all, because it said, well, it's really when you just write from your heart. And I was like, well, most writers do that. And also, you don't have to write a whole summary or an outline. I don't write with a summary or an outline because I've been a journalist my whole life with 45 minutes to deadline. There's no time for a summary. So I've learned to just write, and that may help me more. But intuitive writing is really just listening to your heart and not being held back, and knowing the best writing comes when you don't self-edit, and sometimes even better when you don't plan, and you just allow writing from your heart, literally with the deliberate intent to write from your heart or write from your peaceful brain, that you will get better work than when you kind of furrow your brow and move ahead going, well, this is what I want to say, and this is how it has to look. Intuitive writing is basically the same as living intuitively, which is listening. Lately, I've been just trying to listen. If I need to make a left turn or a right turn, as I get older, I think, well, you've been researching this all your life. You really should more intimately get into it. So I try to listen. Should I go left or right? And sometimes I'll get the urge to go left or right. I also use a red light, green light in my head. Again, it's just a tool to tap into what I believe is inner wisdom, and ask a question. Am I going to be safe walking down this dark alley? Green light, yes. Okay, then I go. It's really quite, it's comforting. And the more you pay attention to it, I think the more easy it is to tap into. Okay, that may not feel complete enough, but intuition is like that. It's wispy. You kind of have to have an intent to understand your own intuition, which I think looks different than everyone else's. But I can promise you, you're using it when you feel your heart open, and when you feel at peace, and when you feel like everything is going to be okay.
I just had
Susan.
one thing to say. I've been a swimmer since I'm 24.
You've been a swimmer since you've been 24?
Yes.
Yes.
And when I get in the pool, if I'm like, I don't really want to do this today, I count though the whole time I'm in the pool. So I might go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then as I get in the rhythm of breathing, which is what you said, and my head's under the water, I may count to 4 or sometimes 6, depending if I'm really kicking it up. I wrote every single one of my papers in school by having a pad of paper at the end of the pool. Because, I got to write a paper on global warming. So, and I would ask people about global warming, and then a line would come to me in the pool. And so the rhythm of I just want to say, intuitive for me is the rhythm of the breathing and getting rid of all the bubbles, and then if I'm writing a piece or researching a piece, I like you said, all these lines start coming. Oh, that'd be a great first line, and I write them down as soon as I get out of the pool because I forget them because I'm in a bubble, really, just like runners talk about, they talk about the bubble. So all through school, single parent and working, I'd literally throw these papers on the floor until I got to take a day off to write the paper, but I did. And even now, it's anyway, so.
Thank you. Kelly.
All right, we have some comments from the online world. Geraldine says, there are times when I write that I don't even know what I'm writing about until it's done. Is that considered intuitive
Oh my God,
writing?
yes. Geraldine, you mentioned a couple weeks ago that you woke up in the middle of the night and wrote at 5 a.m. I love that because you're still sleepy, you're not editing yourself. And I just think that's the best place to write from, and it doesn't have to be 5 a.m., but I like that you do it. That's why writers should keep a notepad next to their bed to chart their dreams, which is sometimes your inner wisdom speaking to, sometimes not, just a processing, but still like a Rorschach test, where you press the ink blot and you go like, what do you see? That's keeping track of your dreams is a very helpful way. And one of the reasons you should keep a notepad next to your bed, but also for ideas that you wake up with. I think I really feel like most of you understand this because I think your best writing comes from that place. And I know I'm going to go with, I'm going to guess most of you do. And if I've offended anybody, I'm sorry. But that's kind of the life I'm living and it's my truth. So, and your life might look completely different from that, but I'm glad to hear you guys kind of add to that. All of you that have had that experience, it helps the rest of us. What I also do is the opening of the heart. I don't need to say that we could use a little more of that in the world today, because in my belief, that's what will heal the craziness that we're facing on both sides of the political divide around the world. Understanding that comes from a place of intuition. So I'm sorry if I'm fuzzy on that, but let's just proceed with a few more questions and maybe we can get a little more firm on what exactly, what might help you tap into your own. Anybody else in the room?
Christopher, would like to comment on that.
Christopher? Go ahead, unmute. Christopher, are you, hello? It's so hard to see. Can Christopher chatted, he wanted to comment?
Well, he commented online. He did one of his best educational workshops that way, and Rosetta has joined us.
Hi,
and she
Rosetta.
said, hi, I'd like to get that nagging baggage off my chest, so I write it into my journals.
That's right.
Yeah, this is Christopher. I wasn't sure if I was muted. I just wanted to say that I did a major educational workshop for my business in Pittsburgh that way. And I will tell you, I'm a Catholic, so I was very anxious and tired, and really it was a long trip and so forth. So I was dealing with some anxiety issues. So I just said there's a pretty standard prayer in it's not the Catholic liturgy, but it's some other liturgies called the Jesus prayer. It's just saying Jesus. And I basically that allowed me to stay focused and stay meditated. And I ended up doing one of the participants in this workshop said it was the best workshop they had seen in 24 years.
Nice.
Very deep seated.
Wonderful. I love hearing that. That, as you know, prayer is a form of meditation, and provides great comfort if that is the choice. Depending on what your spiritual belief is, some people have said that prayer is talking to God, meditation is listening to God. And if that offends you, I understand, and I'm sorry, but those are some of the things that are said about meditation. Meditation, in my experience, helps us to get to our best self, regardless of whether you believe in God or not. It helps us to be our best self as writers. It helps us to be our best self physically, because actually, I remember I changed my mind. I said, not physically. There's a whole chapter in Herbert Benson's book and in my video, forgive me, about biofeedback, about how when you regulate your breathing and you relax, everything in your body goes into homeostasis, which makes for a happier, more peaceful, calmer person. So there are innumerable benefits, but one of the best is our ability to think creatively and write creatively. Yes.
I just want to make a comment to add to what you're saying. So many cultures of the world rely on intuition. I think I had interviewed a Vietnam veteran for our veterans book a few years past, and he's Native American, and he was telling, he didn't like to tell the story a lot, but I was listening, and he said, you'll probably think I'm crazy when I say this, but he said, what saved his life was hearing the voices tell him which way to go. And he said, as a Native person, he knows to them, those are the ancestors that are guiding you into safety and things like that. And I also want to add, I think a lot of our own ancestors did follow their intuition more than we do. Maybe we've kind of let that go more. My family's Italian, and in the Italian tradition, my great grandmother was a shepherdess in Italy, and she would be up in the mountains all day, and she had her crocheting and the rosary, which I never thought, growing up Catholic also, I thought, oh, the old ladies do the rosary, whatever, but it's a very real meditation. You're by yourself in the mountains and nature with just the animals, and you're contemplating, listening, trying to find the answers. And my grandmother always said, this is how she decided to come to America, because she was supposed to marry someone she didn't want to marry. But anyways, she found her answers through her intuition, really.
Is anyone offended by this? And you probably wouldn't want to say, I'm trying to be really careful not to step on your beliefs, but honestly, it's important to hear other people's beliefs anyway. And if you can hear them without being offended by them, what almost everyone with intuition or who has had a spiritual experience or an otherworldly experience, they always say, you're going to think I'm crazy. But why do we think people are crazy? There's a vast majority of us have experiences that are unexplainable, inexplicable. Okay, words. Kelly?
I think that, hi, everyone, this is Kelly speaking as a writer. I think it's interesting that you're saying that, because as writers, we create other worlds. And so as writers, I think one of my phone says, be quiet, Kelly.
No.
We share our inner world with someone else and make it a shared reality. And I think, and that's usually the difference between craziness and insanity is a shared reality, right? Like that's the difference between a delusion and, something that apparently that's happened, is when we can actually, there's more than one witness.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so when we write, when we create, when we make movies, we create another witness.
Yes, we do. That's a beautiful way to put it. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Can
Everyone hear, Kelly, when we write and create, make movies or tell stories, we're creating another witness to our story. And that's very healing. And it also brings people together, I think.
And Lauren Petruccelli would like to make sure from the medical searches, meditation does in fact help physical health. There are many studies that demonstrate mindfulness meditation and has them for 5 minutes per day reduces high blood pressure. So
Thank
in
you. I
reality,
can't
the
believe
medical field does share our reality.
it is
on this
true.
topic.
I'm not making
And
this
so-
stuff up. So
New York State, thanks you very much for your disclaimer. However, there is medical proof, so there will be no repercussions. for your
nice.
personal
That's
use.
wonderful. I like hearing that. The other thing is, sometimes people get a little nervous when they think about, I don't know if writers so much do, because writers always have voices in their head. That's how we write. When I wrote I wrote a novel and I'm just going to tell you the end of my story, and then we're going to move on because I'm already tired of my talking. So I went from there, the exploration of intuition and meditation, and I became the editor of a holistic journal, and I became fascinated by near-death experiences and death and dying, and because I was reading story after story about people said, well, I died and I went to this extraordinary place and now I've come back and I'm different and I understand. And the thing I heard most was everything is happening as it should. And I found a great deal of comfort in that, especially because I knew that I would have to experience the death of people that I loved in my lifetime. I wrote a novel called Forevermore, a love story from the edge of eternity, based on the research I have done my entire adult life on whether or not we live on. Now I'm in the process of taking tiny steps towards making that into a little movie in September, and things keep falling forward. So I'm guessing I'm supposed to do it, even though I'm going like, I don't know how to make a movie. Turns out you just take the next step. And so that's where I am right now. And besides that, adoring all of this exchange. And if we have any other questions, I'd be delighted to take them. I'll do a brief meditation after the class, so just so you can get a sense of how it works. And if we have any other questions, I'd be happy to take them, or we can move on to our reading. Okay. So
Helen's up first, I believe.
Helen, please come here.
Right now we have Helen and Joanne. Right, Joe is next, and then after that, possibly Joe.
Hi, everyone.
Give me the screen.
Okay. Waiting for Michelle to get settled here. Okay. The night I was visited by astral spirits and electrical waves. This happened around 1993 in our home in Bartow, Pennsylvania. At this time, my son Brian was living with us, and it occurred in his bedroom. Now, Brian was around 24 years old when this incident occurred. On this night, Brian was staying over with a friend and wasn't coming home. It was around 11 p.m. My husband and I were in bed. Then my husband slept facing the windows and I by the door, which we left open. We slept with the bedroom door open because my husband was afraid of being in a closed room while sleeping. On this night, sometime in 1993, while almost asleep, heard our front door open thinking Brian came home. Just relaxed when all of a sudden heard Brian say, I have to pee. Do you? And heard the toilet seat go up. Then the living room lights went on and two young boys speaking very excitedly about skateboard wheels as they proceeded down the hallway to Brian's room. Saw blue electric waves follow the voices of the boys along the ceiling. When they entered Brian's room, the light went on and the door closed. Realizing something mystical was happening, just listened to their conversation. The boys had been around 12 years old, discussing different wheels for skateboards. Then I heard Brian explain to the other boy that his mother misunderstood him when he asked for a pair of skateboard wheels and purchased him a new skateboard. After a while, it got quiet and the boys left Brian's room, putting out the light and proceeding down the hallway again. All I saw was blue electrical waves following across the ceiling. Then the living room light went off and they left the house. As I lay there taking in what just occurred, pondered why this happened. Then I must have fallen asleep. The next day I called Brian to discuss this phenomenon and was taken aback by another surprise. My son Brian said, I remember that night, but that occurred in Bartow. Mom, on the evening that occurred, we lived in Trooper. I was about 12 years old. You were not even home at the time. Then I told him I was sorry for giving him grief over skateboard wheels, not understanding he only wanted new wheels and not another skateboard. Brian told me they figured out how to get the wheels off his new skateboard and put him on his old one. Neither one of us could explain why this happened so many years later.
Wow. Okay, needless to say, I love that stuff. I am of the belief that the world is far stranger and more wonderful than we even ever know. And Helen, I've looked at some of her, she has a whole folder full of her work, and a lot of it is the interesting and wild, crazy experiences that people might, that you probably always go, well, you're not going to believe this, but because people don't, right?
I never used to tell people.
Sure. I think the older you get, you go like, hey, somebody's got to tell these stories.
Because of this writing class, I'm pulling out notes and everything that I have and I'm putting
Good.
together.
Good. Because again, let me stress that my ultimate goal for every writer that I come in contact with is that there is at least an ebook, because these stories become our history. They become the stories of humans. And I always think that it may not be this generation where they get the attention they're due, but it could be the next one or the next, or your great grandchildren. It's so I adore the idea that Helen is recording these, and believe me, there's way more than this one, right? Does anybody have any comments for Helen? Anybody in here? Michelle?
Yeah,
Oh, talk.
this is Christopher. May I mention? I had a couple of really similar experiences. I think one that really comes to mind wasn't visited by an astral experience, astral spirits per se, but I had an experience that actually has to do with upstate New York. My family is from there, but I haven't had a chance to visit. It's from Geneva. And I have a very strong interest in the music of the Carpenters. Actually, I have a poem on them. And when I was starting my business, I was awake in the middle of the night, and I decided, okay, I'm going to listen to the radio, see what's on the. And I was actually listening to this oldie station, and it was the Carpenters playing, just sort of out of the blue. And I just started my business, and I had uploaded a notice of my business to some websites on special education and teachers of the visually impaired. And as I was listening to this particular song by the Carpenters, I got an email literally at 3 a.m. from a teacher of the visually impaired outside of Syracuse, New York, saying that they had gotten my article and that they had families that were interested in working with me. And about 6 months later, I got a call from a doctor, a physician in the Golisano Children's Hospital at Syracuse. I don't know if you've heard of it, inviting me to give a talk, give a presentation for a grant program that was being held there. And I ended up flying from Ohio to upstate New York to Golisano Children's that following year to do this workshop. So
That's wonderful. Are you writing about these experiences?
I haven't written about that one in particular. I kind of I'll be honest with you, I kind of marginalized them a little bit.
I'll do that.
But this one about upstate New York is sort of interesting because it kind of has to do a little bit with the reason I was sort of steered to this workshop in particular, because of another one of my poems that has to do with Niagara Falls. So I just thought it was interesting.
Thank you for sharing. I want to say that these kind of soulful experiences enrich our writing. You know, it kind of it helps the reader know more about who you are. It identifies kind of where your spirit is, where you're into, you know, kind of who you are. And so I think that in my opinion, you know, I always try to say both feet on the ground, and a little bit in the sky, because that's where all the good stuff is. So, and this isn't evolving into a metaphysical woo-woo session, but it all involves better writing as far as I'm concerned, and the honesty that it requires. Susan.
One thing that is so about time travel, you know.
Can't hear.
I'm just saying that your story is so about time travel, that, you know, we've learned that it's not linear, you know, what happened in 1860 is still happening, you know, there's theories about that. And, you know, it was such a personal way to point out that it's a possibility that time travel is really real. It's open to that. And it was so personally written. You wrote it so personally written that it really.
Well, thank
so,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, when this happened to me, all of a sudden I believed in energy. I didn't before. I just, you know, just feeling about it. But when this happened, it was there. I had energy. I wasn't scared or anything. It just
Yeah.
flew right over me, like, and it all does. But it taught me something.
As writers, it's our job to explore experiences and to share them. They're, you know, writers, poets, memoirs, whatever we're writing, it's our job to because we've been gifted with the ability to put words to paper. It's kind of our job to explore these emotions and these experiences and not hide them, not be afraid of who we are and what's happened to us. Geraldine?
This is Geraldine. Is it Helen?
Yes.
Is that your name?
Yes.
Okay. I look forward to hearing your stories, just like I do with, I think his name is Michael, because you give us sight, you give us sound, you know, you give us personal experiences, and I'm able to live an experience with you that I haven't necessarily lived, or I haven't necessarily thought about. I find with this group that I've been a very narrow-minded writer, you know, thinking only in terms of those things that I write about or experiences that I write about, but it gives me an opportunity to kind of live your experience, a little laughter, information, you know, I love it. I'm done.
Thank you, Geraldine.
Thank you. That's beautiful. I appreciate that. And so true. So it's Joanna, and then who else wanted to read? Joanna, and there was somebody else?
She said maybe Jody.
Jody? Okay.
And then Michael.
Oh, Michael too. Okay, Joanna, can you come up here? Yes.
Well, Michael, nobody else.
Oh, ask them again. I apparently have been only sending a direct message to one person when I.
Okay. So what I'm asking is who else would like to read that hasn't read yet in our class?
This is real short.
Everyone, Joanna?
Hi, this is very short. Well, okay. Looking out at the lined rows of corn beginning to grow, I see how each plant is blowing in the strong breeze. The leaves flutter about, tossing and turning, but remain steadfast to its stem. A small red bug comes, rests a while on a blade, and then dances away. Although there's heavy rain and loud thunderstorms, the corn stalks don't waver from their places. Looking at the cornfield, I see my life. Strong storms have come my way, but a firm foundation has kept me grounded. That's it. But I want to expand and just talk about life's challenges.
What prompted this? I mean, were you literally in your car and?
No, I was looking at I live out in the country, and the corns are starting to grow. I mean, the corn, you know what I mean? You know, yeah, that's, yeah.
Do you see this as, it feels like a poem to me. Do you see it as the start of a memoir?
Probably not, because I'm pretty private, so I probably wouldn't go into everything.
No kidding. So
Yeah.
what was your intent in writing and sharing this?
To see if anyone had any suggestions of which road I should take or how to take the road, basically.
Well, I have bad news for you.
Yeah.
First, Michelle, if you have anything to add, Kelly. you know that unless you share who you are, you're kind of whistling in the dark, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
So it's this beautiful image of how strong you are. And people are going like, yeah, how'd you get strong? Because we all want the strength of a field of corn that's so rooted into the soil of the earth that it can withstand the thunderstorms. But how, Joanna, did you get there? And to really, truly explore your craft and your life, you're going to have to explore your craft and your life, you know, because that's where you could explore my life, but it wouldn't be quite this. I mean, you could explore any of our lives,
Yeah.
which I do as a journalist. And you read the story, you go, gee, I'd love to know more about that, but you can't because I finished my story because I only had 8 inches, you know?
Yeah.
I would love to know more about that. I would love to know. And yet that's a leap of faith to go deeper, to tell the stories that you just said you don't want to tell because you're very private.
Yeah.
Clearly you're not, or you wouldn't be, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have started this thing, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't have brought it here to share with us. And I happen to know Joanna and I have worked together in cable television. Joanna has a cable TV show. Is it okay if I say that?
I
I'm
don't care.
sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
is there anything else you'd like to know about Joanna that I can give away?
Yeah, it's
But
fine.
but my knowledge of you is that it's important to you to teach, and that you'd be doing a service. It would be service work to share what's in your heart, I think, as I think of all of us.
Okay. Okay.
You know, you're never going to come back now, right?
Yeah.
I would love to hear more. If you could just push yourself a little bit and
Yeah.
maybe come again. And, I promise never to do this to you again, but I do think what you said was key to all of us, which is I'm really a private person. Well, we all are.
Yeah.
Kelly?
I do have compounds, like, although I do not disagree with what, because Michelle is doing this in intuitive writing and in memoir, right? But snapshots of strength and inner strength are also inspirational, right? As a snapshot for what it is and where you are in that moment. Now, whether or not you have any corn must in there, or if there's any broken stalks, are yet to be determined, right? But from a distance, it's a strong growing field, right? So, so I thought it was a beautiful piece. And
Oh gosh, I forgot to say that.
inner
Sorry.
strength. So I'm like, but yes, the vulnerability makes us who we are. And what I heard Michelle saying to you was that helping other people get to be that strong by offering a roadmap, right? To how to sow the corn, or how to do it in such a way to either recognize the strength of the corn even when it bends, or whatever the case may be.
And if you find it too painful to tell your story, maybe you can allude to the changes in the cornfield so that we understand. You could be talking about your life or my life or someone that you love's life, allude to the changes in the cornfield and how that might make you feel as a viewer. Or it's beautiful. And I should have said that first. And I think we'll all agree. The words are beautiful. You had us there.
I gotcha.
Well, you kind of did, but that's okay, because this is a class where we explore writing but when you said I'm kind of private, I launched onto that because first of all, I took some liberties because we are friends. And secondly, because I know that that's a teaching opportunity. And so you forgive me for
No,
launching.
No,
on
that's
that.
what happens when you sit next to the farmer.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. I need the poke.
But I
Yeah.
just think that that's beautiful. And I think I encourage you to explore. If you can't do it with your story, make it somebody else's story and then talk about the corn.
Yeah.
I had a friend, or Melanie
Yeah.
walks among the corn.
Yeah.
All right,
And-
and Froggy has a comment.
Froggy, help me.
I do also.
Hi, this is Froggy. Whether you choose to walk among the straight stalks or you choose to bring the combine in and create a maze, you're going to lure people in. You don't have to make it public. You can write the story for yourself, but write the story. Check.
Thank you.
This is, I'm sorry,
Yes.
this is Geraldine. it's like you took my tongue and dipped it in the cup and then snatched it kind of like back out again. One of the wonderful things that I enjoy in being a writer is that you can hide behind your pen. Believe it or not, I'm a very private, can be quite shy, don't really, just want to say this is what I'm going through. But one of the wonderful things is that you can hide behind your pen. And when you write, you don't necessarily have to explain it to anyone or justify it to anyone. Hide behind that pen, but I would definitely like to get my tongue stuck back in that cup. I like, as a gardener, also you hooked me in right from the beginning when you started talking about the corn and the, for me, returning back to the soil, with the planting and all of that other stuff. You definitely had me. And I really, truly hope that you continue to come back to the group and that you hide behind your pen.
I like that. I
Tell them
like
your pen wrote it.
that.
So I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry I launched on
No,
you.
that's okay. And I have to leave at 1:45. And I'm going to the Lockport Arts and Crafts Show with some friends. So when I leave, it's.
Don't
that's
think
why.
you've left
Yeah,
because
yeah, that's
I've
why.
offended you. All right, so who's next? Where are we on the list, Kelly?
Actually, let's see. I think we're back, so we're ready to, is anybody else here in the room wish to read anything?
I can hardly hear Kelly.
Kelly, how come we can't hear you? Are you open over there or are you just
Hardly hear her.
using
Oh,
my?
I'm projecting so we don't, hi,
That's
so
better.
we don't get feedback.
Oh, is that where you think the fee? Okay, got it. All right.
That's
No,
better.
but it's a really good possibility.
I hear you. So project. What were you saying?
I believe that someone, I was asking who would like to read next.
I think Susan has a comment.
Well, Michael said if we had time.
Yes,
we wrote
Michael.
that
Yes.
Last week, but I have something I could read if this time, and I don't want to take time if anybody else that didn't read last week wants to go. So.
Well, Michael, I think we're ready for you then.
And Geraldine definitely sent some things in. I think we'll be fine.
Good. How are we doing on time?
We're fine.
Great.
Let me know.
Michael, whenever you're ready.
Okay, good. This is a revision of the last piece I wrote. I got great suggestions from everybody. And I think I've used most of those, if not all of them. But if I've missed somebody, I certainly apologize. I sat on my bunk, reflecting on the previous night. I began to rehash the incident in my mind. Was I suicidal, or had my PTSD acquired in Vietnam, undiagnosed, and reared its ugly head? I was just 20 years old. I had survived 13 months of combat in Vietnam and 9 months of escort duty, bringing dead Marines home, sometimes just body parts, to their grieving families. My enlistment was about to end. I had been the most controlled person alive, it seemed. In Vietnam, I had coped with danger by resigning myself to the fact that I might die at any moment. In comparison, as an escort, death was always present. We were like robots as far as feelings go. We practiced being empathetic even when we were not. I was ready to abandon those thoughts and feelings. I just wanted to live again. I was ready to go to any extreme for that to happen. John, another Marine at the escort detachment at the Philadelphia Naval Base, had dared me to run the gate after a night of drinking heavily. John was from the hills of Tennessee. While on leave, he would run moonshine for his father. One day he took me into our parking lot. John, Mike, take a look at the back of my car. Me, John, are those bullet holes? Yeah, the revenue shot the hell out of my trunk, but they couldn't catch me. John had a souped up old Dodge. Our base was a top secret facility repairing naval vessels and a military prison. The main entrance at the naval base consisted of 2 guard checks, one on the right for incoming traffic and the other on the left for outgoing traffic. Each vehicle had to stop for an identification check before going through the incoming gate. Overlooking the incoming gate was a base police station to the right of the incoming guard shack. To the left, the outgoing entrance was a Marine guard post. The Marines in the guard shack checked military personnel for authorization. All civilians had to register with the base police before entering the base. I plunged the gas pedal down of the Super Sport Chevelle John and I were in. The 400 horsepower engine roared and the car leaped forward. The speed gauge started to climb. Everything blurred as we sped towards the gate. 10 drinks and some shots will do that. The gate appeared. I am thinking, will I hit the cement guard shack as we go through the gate and the car explode, killing us? The thought didn't stop me. In a dreamlike state, we entered the front of the incoming gate. Time seemed to stop. I could see the cement as we passed through the gate on my right, inches from the car. I saw the base police to my right glancing down at the car as we sped through the entrance. The Marine on the duty moved back into the guard shack on top of the cement. An intelligent move on his part. My hunch is he didn't want to die if the car hit his shack. We passed through the gate without hitting it. Somebody had to be looking out for me, a divine intervention. I pushed the gas pedal to the floor and the car swayed as it gripped the road. The turn into the parking lot came quicker than I thought it would. I slammed on the brakes and we swerved into our barrack street, moving into the parking area. The car stopped and I sat in my seat, more alive than I had been for quite some time. Every fiber of my body was pulsing. It was like I was in another world. I turned to John and smiled. John, Stacy, you are one crazy son of a bitch. I didn't think you would run the gate. A Marine from my detachment was crossing the parking lot and stopped before me. John got out of the car and I did. The air outside the car smelled like something was burning as the engine began to cool. Stacy, the base police are looking for you. They came in force, several of them. They were not happy. The lead officer said you ran the gate at a high rate of speed. Go up the back steps to our building to avoid running into them. We were a tight-knit group. All of us were Vietnam vets. I knew I would pay for running the gate. The risk-taking and danger made me feel alive again, if only momentarily. Had I turned into an excitement junkie? At the same time, the episode seemed perfectly natural. I had survived much worse in Vietnam, like firefights with bullets whizzing by my right ear in the jungles. I even survived a dangerous episode in a whorehouse while on duty in Da Nang, while on liberty in Da Nang. I was returning to the States after a tour of duty. After visiting several bars and consuming a significant amount of alcohol, I decided to visit a whorehouse. I had not been with a woman for months, and this was the only option for Marines in a liberty town. I walked in. The madam showed me a variety of young women. I picked a young gal, probably in her late teens or early 20s. She was not pretty, but she was attractive to me. She stood about 5 feet tall with jet black hair. Her facial expression was kind. It didn't hurt that she had a great shape. I guess that is why I picked her. We went upstairs to her room. The room was sparse, with a lamp to the right of a large bed, drab curtains, colored curtains on the window. The barren room was not inviting. She grabbed my hand and steered me towards the bed. My companion slid into the bed and I followed. Her body was firm and she smelled fantastic. We made love. After our lovemaking, I fell asleep. The alcohol I had ingested while visiting Da Nang's bar and the coupling had relaxed me. When I woke, it was after liberty hours. I got up and looked out the window into the pitch dark night. I was in trouble. The gate to the base got locked at dusk. The only option now was to stay overnight. Around midnight, there was shouting outside her room, then banging on the door, accompanied by a demand to open the door. Someone was trying to break down the door to her hotel room. The prostitute whispered into my ear, "Do not open the door. Viet Cong, they will kill us." My mind began to race. The banging on the door scared the hell out of me. It got louder and louder. The door began to crack. I was sure the door would give way and the Viet Cong would kill us. I had no weapon. The door held, the shouting stopped, With my heart racing, I slid back into bed with the girl who had saved my life. On another mission, a jet dropped napalm a half mile from me with the jungle erupting in flames. Hell on earth. Even though the flames were a half mile away, the heat engulfed us, sucking the oxygen out of the jungle where we stood. Those experiences killed the teenager who entered the Marines in 1964. The sweet young man who joined the Marines had become something hard. I was like a ship without a rudder. Was I fit to enter back into civilian life? I'm done.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
Can I make a comment first? I know you had sent this to me earlier this week, and I love the changes you made. I think it's very direct. You explained a lot of things that people didn't understand before, and I still like your, I would say like a staccato style, like you have a lot of youth to the story and to your writing style. So I like how you carry that, what's happening, and plus, you know, the action, but also your voice and how you just carry it through. I do want to ask you, like, how did you capture your memories to write this? I know it's very painful what you've experienced. Did you keep journals or?
No, I just wrote it from an intuitive place. As I wrote one word, I wrote another word, and so forth and so on. So I remembered it because it was kind of an experience I would never forget.
Right.
Hmm.
This is Christopher. My dad was as I mentioned, my dad was a Vietnam veteran, the 70s, and much later in the war, 67, 68. And I have to comment, yeah, it's pretty much almost like you have within the war, during the war, and then outside of the war. And as you said, it's almost intuitive. You really can't capture it. I guess the only what I'm trying to say is you can capture it, but it's almost a part of you, and you really can't forget the experience. And that's what I really liked, Michael, about your writing. And I like the way that you piece together the narratives from the incident with the prostitute and also the incident with the gate. I really appreciated that, and I just wanted to comment that because about that because my dad was also in the service.
Thank you. To both of you.
And Philly Naval Shipyard was actually where it was discharged, I believe. 71,
Well, thank you, Christopher.
same location.
This
My
is,
pleasure.
oh, this is Geraldine. Forgive me because I'm still trying to distinguish when one person is finished and the next, it's time for me to speak. I'm not trying to overspeak you. But Michael, I look forward. I can close my eyes and listen to you, and it's like watching a movie. I can actually see it. I can actually hear it. I can actually feel it. And so, and you also took all of the suggestions or the ones that I could remember and put it in your story without changing the perspective of your story. And I look forward to being able to read your book or books. I really do. It's like watching a movie without having to turn the TV on and go through the commercials. So kudos to you. I'm done.
Thank you.
Michael?
This is Frog.
Oh, go ahead, Froggy.
This is Froggy, Michael.
Hi,
I
Froggy.
like the way that you rewrote, but it just dawned on me though. You ran the gate. The gate was locked. It had to be inside. You asked
Froggy, I can barely understand you. It's very
I'm
mechanical.
sorry. I'm sorry. Is this better?
Yeah.
That's better.
It just dawned on me. You ran the gate. The gate was locked. It was a secure place.
No, the gate wasn't locked. There's no lock on the gate. It's not a gate that swings open or closed. It's open.
Okay.
Maybe I should make that clearer.
You went to the whorehouse and when when the Viet Cong was banging on the door, you were, you know, safe behind the door. It sounds to me maybe that these doors or checkpoints and that are your safety hiding places, and or the places where you're keeping your deepest secrets. I don't know. You can only you can answer that. I mean, I've never been at war. Just something to explore. Check.
Okay, good point.
That is an interesting point, Froggy. This is Michele DeLuca, and Michael, that's just beautiful stuff. Is the intent to have a book? Is this a movie? What do
Yeah,
you
that's
think
the
of
first chapter. That's the first chapter in the book. And there follows a lot of other stories. You know, after leaving the Marine Corps, shortly after that, I got the notice that my tour of duty would end early. And I talk about that, and then I talk about, you know, jobs, my relationships, what I learned, and over a period of 40 years, from the Marine Corps all the way through my getting a doctorate in 1991. All of it seems bizarre to me at this point. Things I never intended to do, and actually surprised me. That not that they were spectacular, just that I'm a small town boy, and I never imagined some of the things in my life would happen to me. Yeah, it seemed like my life was not all that complicated, but once I started writing it, I realized that it had been a lot more complicated than I thought at the time. And you talked about looking back. I think looking back, you know, I was able to take a look at those different parts of my life from during those 40 years. And I started writing this as a lark. I had gone to a seminar at the library, believe it or not. Libraries can do very powerful things. And I took the workshop on writing a memoir, and then I took another workshop with the person, and then I took another workshop with the person, and then I decided that I wanted to write a memoir. And I joined a group in Springfield, Massachusetts, and I wasn't going to write a book. I was just writing. And two of the women in the seminar said that they thought I should write a memoir. And that was it. I started writing a memoir. I'm two-thirds through. I got about a third left to go.
I think we all still appreciate everything that each person has said. Your writing is stark and it's visceral, and it explores the idea of how war can break a teenage boy into bits, and how you have to spend your whole life rebuilding yourself, you know, and how you did that. It gives hope to the broken teenage warriors, you know, and all the warriors out there who come back different and unable to cope with everyday life. I just think that it's a beautiful service you're doing, and I really am glad you're here to continue it on. So bravo, Kelly.
Thank you.
Another Rosetta would like to read.
All right, so closing that out, Michael, we're going to need some more of that soon. So
Stay tuned.
What next? Kelly wants the next chapter. Yes.
Okay, I'll send that out
Good work.
to Kelly.
All right, so, Rosetta, where are you? Which? Okay. Rosetta wants to read. Rosetta, unmute and. there you
Hi.
are. Hi.
just to give myself some voice, I haven't spoken. Hello, everyone. This is Rosetta. I just trying to refocus myself from writing poems and understanding prose and that type of thing, and going into memoirs. I wanted to at least get started with an introductory of whatever this is going to turn out to be. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph and get some feedback. I know we've got a few short minutes, but it starts out like this. Like a traveler, I am arriving at a point of understanding the depth and magnitude of my life. It's beginning to make sense now. I'm constantly examining parts of it, seeking to define sources that bewildered me, turning the pages to chapters of my life over and over again in my head, like twisting a sharp yet jagged edged stone into my brain. Some points are sharp enough to cut, while others are simply ragged, uneven, and broken. That's me. That is me, broken. The end. I'm done.
Well, thank you. I can already hear that there are people who want to comment, but first let me say that is beautiful. That
Could
is-
you not hear? I wasn't speaking loud enough. I'm sorry.
No. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Who can't hear?
We can hear.
Yes, I heard every word. I think we all did. Really, is that my bounce back? Hold on. Nope. Rosetta, that's writing. And that is a perfect demonstration. It's a step further from Joanna's tentative, I am strong now. Yours is, I am broken. The one thing I don't think we've examined more closely enough is the ability of our writing to heal ourselves, even if, as Froggy says, nobody ever reads it. Sharing it is such a brave and courageous thing. And those words are beautiful, and I could feel the cutting of the stone into my own brain. That is extremely courageous. And your choice, the visuals, the emotional impact of those words is really intimate. And I think you drew us all in because of that. I wouldn't hate to hear it again, unless somebody, what time is it? Do we have time? It's 12:59.
Yeah.
Let's comment first. Who has something else they'd like to say?
Well, while they're thinking, I appreciate your feedback. Sometimes I overshare.
Oh.
I'm trying to, not in this case perhaps, but I just tend to, and I think that's all of coming of age, because I came up very quiet, very shy, very keep to myself person. And now I'm a grandmother and I just share everything. So thank you. Bye.
I'd like to make a comment, Rosetta. I think it is very beautiful, and it made me feel as if you already do this intuitive writing. It flowed beautifully, almost like a poetic narrative. I've heard some of your other works through these sessions, and it was very beautiful use of words, the whole brokenness. I think you have that down to be able to expose your feelings and what you want to express to us in writing. And I appreciate everybody's bravery, actually sharing their stories.
Good writing is a very intimate journey. It's the
Right.
same way you become a good friend or a good partner or a good lover, is you share parts of yourself.
Right.
You share what's in your soul, and that's how we connect to each other, rather than saying, yeah, I had a good day. I went to the supermarket and I got some milk and some eggs. Everybody was like, oh, that's great. I went to the supermarket and I was triggered by a mother who was dragging her child along while he was screaming. Might be a whole other thing, and what that might trigger in you. again, I have to go back to what Lauren said, which is this stuff is very intimate and challenging. What I'm encouraging you to do with the meditation is to come out of that and just listen to the words in your head and just for 5 minutes, write the words as they pop in. They might not make sense. Sometimes they're words you wouldn't normally use. And that is a practice of intuitive to really allow your subconscious and your imagination and your intuition to explore something that you might not necessarily want to explore or know that you need to explore. Or maybe they're just beautiful words. It's all alchemy. And that is what we are hoping to release in a session like this. So
I want to add one more thing. Sometimes maybe you write a piece that's small or you have these feelings, through your intuitive mind that come out on paper. And maybe you don't know what to do with that. It doesn't become anything more, but you never know as a writer, you might be able to use that in another piece of writing somewhere down the line. And that's like the perfect piece, little puzzle piece to add to it, even if it's something small. I try to save things like that.
Kelly?
I am actually losing my time to read.
Here.
Oh my gosh. Kelly wants to read. Do we have time? If anybody has to leave, please feel free, but Kelly wants to read
Oh, come on.
and she's going to come and sit in the reader chair.
Yay.
We'll be in your audience. Oh, geez.
I love this guy.
Maybe this is very short, so don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable, y'all. It's very short. Hi, everyone. So this piece is part of a memoir, not my own. I'm partially my own. I'm working with my mom to help tell her story from her perspective, and then from my perspective as well. And so this goes back to a little bit of the haiku lessons, short and sweet, and maybe in the microfiction category. So it's very raw, it's very beginning, but here we go. And I actually can't see writing with my glasses on, so if you all see into my retinas or up my nose, I apologize. Okay. Being blind has some advantages. Teresa smelled like whiskey and tobacco. Her laugh sounded like gravel. No easy task in an old folks' home. We had both woken from a coma to find ourselves in a sea of old farts. They smelled worse. She had diabetes and had lost a leg. Her guts didn't work and she was in constant pain. But we laughed. We laughed long and loud. What else could they do to us? They'd taken our homes, our lives, everything we knew. What else could they do? We had gone to sleep mothers, grandmothers, sisters, aunties, and woken up burdens. We were too valuable to be let go, but we were too heavy for our families to carry. Sometimes there's an advantage to being blind. You can't see them looking at you, and you can always claim you didn't see the no smoking signs.
Wow.
Wow.
I broke all protocol. Kelly's gonna make me, is gonna make me cry. And I don't really want to cry, but a very creative way to share some really raw emotions. I connect with you on the blind side, on the diabetes side, on the mother side. Just, I'm so glad that you shared this, and my hope is that you continue to share with us. Also, very creatively done. I like it. I'm done. Sorry. Oh, and I also wanted to comment on Rosetta's. Sorry, Rosetta, I saw your piece kind of like as a coming out piece. It's kind of like a little bit to test the water, a chance to test the waters of your emotion is what I wrote, was coming out place, chance to test the waters of your emotion and know that your pen will make it a safe place. And I just kind of want to say that to all of us, that whatever we have to share, know that your pen is going to make it the safe place. I'm done.
Thanks, Rosalind. And Rosetta,
Thank you.
Rosetta, this comes, oh, I'm on somebody's speaker.
Yeah.
All right, we're good? Nope. Somebody put themselves on mute. Okay. Rosetta, actually, one of the things that I wanted to say about your piece, first of all, I love your writing. It's extraordinary. It always takes me to a very, a deep place. You're so descriptive and you have such a raw emotion. And honestly, the piece you read today, the comment I have for you is it made me get up and read.
Ooh, geez. That's big.
I'm sorry, Kelly, what was the very last sentence that you said?
I said, you made me get up to read.
Thanks. That's encouragement. And to know that we're touching each other's hearts. I appreciate you and all of you. Thank you, Geraldine, for your comments as well.
All right. I'm out of the hot seat.
Kelly,
All right.
geez.
I know, I'm like, well, I'm out of here.
Okay, I gotta say, Kelly,
Yeah.
yeah, you're well on your way to a book that I would want to read. That's just exploring aging in this part of life, especially with so many baby boomers having to address it, and your mother being so honest and your help. I cannot wait to see where that goes, and I'll be expecting to hear more. So,
All right, you tell her.
so your mother, all right, I'd be happy to. All right, you know what I'd like to do, Michael?
Yeah, there's several comments for Rosetta in the chat. I don't know if she realized that. Plus, Kelly, being blind has its advantages. Boy, what a great way to grab somebody's attention.
Exactly.
Super start.
Yeah.
I'm done.
That's that's what I like, to kind of grab you by the throat and pull you in. Anyway, so is there anything I would like to close out with a brief meditation? This is going to take about 10 minutes because I just want you to experience kind of settling down into your body and kind of just exploring your breath. This is a very simple, there are all kinds of meditations. Play with them online, see if you need somebody to talk to you. But I also like to dim the lights if you need to, or just to kind of find a place in your chair where you're comfortable. Linda, I understand. It was lovely to have you. We'll see you again. Yes.
The idea of your intuitiveness and
Good.
just writing down what comes to you.
Okay. All
Right
right.
now, that's where I'm at, is I have this big jumble of everything.
Linda's leaving, but she just said that she just, I don't know if you can see her, but she's got to go. And she said that this is helping her with the jumble in her head with this. Yes. So go ahead. It was lovely to see you. Okay. So either lay down or put your feet. Most people like to begin a meditation in a chair so that they don't fall asleep. And so I am seated, my feet are square on the floor, my hands are in my lap, and I'm sitting up straight, but you don't need to. Some people prefer to find a position that they don't feel uncomfortable in. I think that for this particular meditation, just find a place where you can sit for 10 minutes without too much discomfort. And we will begin. And the first thing to do, and this is a really helpful tool to relax no matter where you are, if you're in the supermarket line or if you're driving in your car and you're stuck in traffic and you don't want to experience that tightness in your chest and the blood pressure rising. The first thing always is to take a breath, a nice deep breath. Like a few of those would be really helpful. There are no rules for this, but I like to begin by starting at my feet. Starting perhaps at my toes and just kind of imagining your toes being very relaxed. That's possibly confusing to some, but just send the idea into your toes that you want your toes to relax. You want your feet to relax. You want your ankles to feel relaxed. Now breathe that relaxation into your feet. So kind of breathe in from, say, the clouds, the heavens, whatever you prefer. Breathe that good, clean air in and send it down to your toes on the exhale. Now moving up along your legs, we'll go to our thighs and send relaxing and beautiful thoughts to your thighs, below your knees. Relax your legs and take a nice deep breath and send relaxing thoughts and intent into your thighs, beneath and your feet. Notice already your heart may be calming. Now imagine sending relaxing thoughts and intent to your knees. Take a little breath. Now we can just breathe naturally and with our intent. Send relaxing thoughts to our thighs. Now imagine moving up your body. Send relaxing thoughts to your midsection, especially our stomachs and our bellies where we hold a lot of our stress. Take a nice, gentle, but deep breath, not overextending yourself, just sending some beautiful, relaxing energy to your bellies. Moving up our bodies to our waists, to our diaphragms, where the breath is coming from. Another breath in with the intent to relax our midsections. Moving up to our chest areas and our shoulders, where we all tend to hold our breath. We tend to hunch our shoulders. We have our lungs to expand, to relax. Take a breath and imagine that spreading through your lungs, the relaxation of just allowing your lungs to feel the freedom of the breath move through your body. This is imaginative work. We want to imagine our breath coming through our body. Whatever helps to imagine that, perhaps a car wash, vertical car wash, whatever you can use, a squeegee to clear the energy through, move it through your body in a very relaxed and easy manner. While we're here in our chest area, let's take a stop at our hearts and breathe into our hearts. Those beautiful instruments have kept us not only moving and breathing and kind of creating, helping us to create the lives that we're leading, but the heart is also a place of deep emotion. It's some people refer to it as our second brain. Our hearts carry a great deal of wisdom and beauty and love. And sometimes we close them to protect them. And I'm suggesting that just for this moment in time, you take a breath from the universe and you send it through the top of your head, down through your tight chest and your lungs, and kind of let that oxygen breathe itself through your body and go into the earth, taking with it all your stress and the challenges you've had to face in your life. Just kind of cleansing your body and relaxing it. We're going to breathe here for a second before we move on to our arms and our fingers and our head. So let's take a few breaths and just imagine this beautiful healing oxygen moving through our body. When you're alone and you don't feel self-conscious, don't be afraid to breathe. The sound of the breath is like an ocean, and the waves, the sound of the waves can be very healing as you remember how it feels to stand by the ocean, kind of let things move as the energy moves naturally through your body. Kind of let go what you don't need. Let go of the tenseness and the challenges. Now we're going to move to our arms and our hands, the place where the hands that we use to communicate with the world through our writing. What we want to do with our intent is to send them oxygen, energy, and love as it passes through our body. These are our tools. And I think sometimes we forget to honor them. I think sometimes we forget to honor our bodies that carry us. So our bodies carry us so loyally, despite what we put them through. And sometimes it's just good to sit and let the oxygen and the energy of the universe pass through us and revere the parts, all of the parts that have served us so well for so long. Now let's move up to our heads, through our necks, breathing that oxygen in with the intent to free up all the muscles that sometimes we hold so tightly in our necks, and moving up to our mouths where we store so many unspoken words in our tight jaws, and kind of send the intent to relax the jaw, to allow it sometimes to speak in the very best way. Breathe the oxygen into your ears and allow your ears to open to hear the words that can heal and the words that can connect us and the words that help us send our messages and our stories out into the world. And then let's move up to our brains. Breathing in through our noses and our mouths, the oxygen that keeps us alive and keeps us well when we pay attention to it, letting it filter through our whole body, let it wash through your body. Breathing it through our brains and opening our brains to the best that we are, and the ideas that help us to help others be inspired or to learn or to expand and to evolve. And continue to take that breath in through the top of your head and down through your body, cleansing it, sending that energy into the earth, the best of what you are and the things that you do better to release. And to imagine the help coming in through the universe that is the best of you, the wisdom, the breath that you're taking to free up the wisdom in your mind and your brain and your heart and your belly and your soul, the wisdom that courses through your body and makes you so special in who you are. And now we're just going to sit for a few minutes and concentrate on your breath, just breathing. We're going to do this for about 2 or 3 minutes until I get an intuition that it's time to stop. And then we'll share if we want to, or we'll go on with our day. Let's all just breathe now. Okay, I would say that's a callback from the universe. The breathing that we were just doing shouldn't be labored. The oceanic breathing is a yoga move that I find very comforting, and it helps me to keep my attention on my breath, which is, but it's your best meditation is anything that feels comfortable and peaceful. And as you probably noticed, the minute I said, now let's all just breathe, your mind may have gone, well, okay, if this is going to be over soon, I have to get to my shopping or get to my this. That's the monkey brain. And that's what we're hoping to still just for a moment. Sometimes it's okay to say to your brain, if you could just give me a couple minutes here in the silence, I promise I'll give you my full attention when this is over. Sometimes it's just good to wave it on like a cloud to say thank you and move it along and go back to your breath. If you concentrate on your breath, it's harder to listen to the monkey brain. So, without getting annoyed with the thoughts that just started to intrude, send them along, give them a blessing if you need to. But this whole connection to the universe and to the earth, I find to be very healing. I hope it's not too woo-woo for some of you, but does anybody have any comments or questions before we end off, go out to the rest of our days?
That was a great meditation. Thank you. It's Lauren.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you. That was kind of the seat of my pants kind of thing, because I've never done that before and hadn't planned to, but it did kind of, those are the meditations that I enjoy, is starting with your feet, literally. And people go like, how do I relax my toes? Well, you send the intent to your toes that you would like them to relax. And so it's all about really intention. All of life is about intention. And so I hope you are going back to your lives. My intention is that you go back to your lives relaxed and peaceful, and that beautiful creative ideas begin to pop in your head as a result of this time you've spent breathing. Anybody have anything else to add? Kelly, you want to wrap us up? This is Kelly.
You can run the news again next week. What's our next topic?
It's interviewing and research.
Interviewing and research will be our topic next week, and that will be fun for all of us because it helps us to learn more about the other and ourselves, by the way. So have a wonderful week and keep writing. And Michael?
I said, just have a good week.
Oh, that was a bye.
No, I'm just saying bye.
That's also what I'm saying, and I know we're all saying that to each other. So
Have a good one, everybody.
Yes.
Have a good weekend.
everyone have a good one. Thank you for coming. We love this.
Thank you.
So we'll see you soon. Bye.